All right, I'm Laura Gaynor with Pickleball in the Sun, and I'm here at the Yards in Ponte Vedra. And I'm extremely excited to get the chance to have Rachel Simon, who is an incredible author, writer in the media, and just came out with a first book that everybody will be able to purchase August 30th. So here's Rachel Simon. Introduce yourself and all the various media publications that you've had the chance to write about pickleball.
Sure. Thanks so much, Laura. As you mentioned, I have a book coming out August 30th called Pickleball for All that goes into the sport's growth and history and kind of stories from different players of all levels. In addition to that, I write for a lot of different outlets, including the New York Times, Glamour, NBC, and lots more, both about pickleball and other things going on in the world, but especially pickleball. And really have done just love talking about just how it's grown over the years and talking to players for whose lives have been changed by their love of the sport.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate. I always got excited when I saw your name come across my email when you was at Pickleball was a client of mine. I was in charge of the media, and you were reaching out with various topics of stories. So, kind of walk us through how does that pitching happen? I mean, the media just exploded here in the last couple of years, of course, when everyone wanted that trending topic on their websites, on their in their publication. So, was it you pitching like, "Hey, let's do this story," or were they coming to you and knowing that you kind of became a pickleball author and expert?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's been me pitching primarily because a lot of places are still just kind of just catching up to the trend of pickleball being so big that it's worth covering. So, I kind of was lucky enough to realize that pretty early on. I did this first piece for the New York Times in May 2020, I believe, and it was, right at the early on stages of the pandemic. And I was writing about how it was just a really great sport to play in the pandemic because you could social distance, you could set up from the comfort of your own driveway. It's a good way to see friends, but not, keep your safety and, priority there. So when I pitched that, it was primarily because, hey, like, again, this is a great sport for this particular time period. But when that story ended up doing pretty well and I got a lot of really good feedback on that, it made me realize that there's definitely a lot more opportunities to cover within pickleball. So I ended up about a year later pitching a story once I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, about pickleball's growth in the area and how it had become so big in that area in particular. And then over the time, I've pitched stories about the rise of juniors pickleball for, the under 18 set, as well as just did one for the New York Times last week, actually, about pickleball weddings and players who've chosen to get married literally on the court. So it's been a lot of fun writing about it.
Yeah, and I know usually people kind of pass in front of my desk. I mean, you've written how many? Do you know what the number of articles that you've written, and all of them here in this past 2 years on the topic of pickleball?
Five or six, I think. I have two more coming out within the next month or so. I think one for Hemispheres magazine, the United in Flight magazine, that's going to be about pickleball resorts to check out across the country, and then also one for In Pickleball magazine that I don't want to spoil the topic yet, but that'll be in the September issue.
Well, of course, the destination one you have to send it will be perfect
Of
for
course,
pickleball in the sun to share.
definitely.
Yeah, so kind of what inspired you? I know you've heard a lot of stories. You and I got a chance to talk of a lot of people that I've connected with over the years, but kind of what inspired? When did you sit down and say, "Hey, I'm going to write a book about pickleball"?
So it didn't happen in the traditional way. I was actually very lucky as an author where I had an agent actually reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'm working with a publisher who I later found out was Harper Collins, that we want to put out a book on pickleball because this sport is getting so huge. We obviously know it's so popular. It's absolutely worth doing something on how it's gotten to get to that point, and where it's going in the future." And they reached out to me because they had read some of the stories that I did, including that New York Times one, and they wanted someone who understood the sport and could
That's
write
awesome.
basically, and could put those together. So I was really grateful for the opportunity, and I ended up just spending a couple months really diving deeply into every aspect of the sport and talking to so many players, both amateurs and pros, and diving into, again, the history, strategies, the ways you can incorporate pickleball in other areas of your life, and then looking towards a very exciting future of the sport.
Yeah, so what were kind of a few of the top stories that, I'm for one, I'm very fortunate that you interviewed me and wrote about me in the book, and my story is just always a great chance to kind of get this incredible how this game has kind of changed my life, and to have you write about it. I was incredibly honored and to be included in the book. So what were kind of the people that you interviewed? I know you ranged, as you said, from pro players to general amateurs and brands in the space too, but kind of what were some of the few features that you can give people a tease about?
Yeah, it's so many great stories in there. I really loved speaking. I spoke to a woman who had made one of her very best friends through pickleball by actually the friend of hers started as her coach. She actually, they just gave her lessons to begin with, but then it turned into a real off the court friendship. And they always bond over pickleball and play together, but they really have such a deep friendship where they've taken care of each other and just had a bond that they would never have had if it wasn't for pickleball. So that's a story that always really stuck with me. I also love speaking to some of the kids that are, young players who are very talented and really rising up in the ranks there and kind of managing to balance pickleball with school and their social lives, and their parents are running around trying to make it all happen. So that was fun to see. But I think probably the most inspiring story that I got from the book was from a player who had been really passionate, competing in tournaments, playing all the time, really loved the sport. And unfortunately, she had a lot of medical issues that caused her eventually to be in a wheelchair and not able to move. And she really thought that her sports career in general was over, and she was very sad about it, but especially about losing pickleball, and really thought she was never going to be able to play again. And then she ended up discovering the world of wheelchair pickleball from Facebook groups and talking to people who are also in wheelchairs who are able to play, and taught her how to do that. And then when she got on the court, she actually named her wheelchair Barney after Barney McCallum, one of the founders, and ended up just, playing as a wheelchair player, and ended up just really being able to get back into the game and rediscover her love for it, and feel very fortunate that she was able to have that part of her life back again.
Well, I know it's always amazing to me whenever we see all those stories that, I mean, the sport truly is for all. When
Exactly.
you for all age ability. That's what's great about the sport is it kind of gives people a sense of belonging and social space, all of it. So that's incredible. You got a chance to interview and share their stories. So kind of yourself, kind of what's coming next with the book. Are you going to do like a Harper Collins book tour or kind of signings, or kind of what's coming in the next month or two after it launches on August 30th?
Yeah, so lots of exciting opportunities. I am doing a launch event in Raleigh. So anyone who's in, the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, it's going to
Oh,
be
it's
on the
awesome.
actual day the book comes out, August 30th, that night at Quail Ridge Books in Raleigh. So I'm going to be doing
Oh,
a signing, a Q&A. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm not sure yet about other travel, but I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of virtual appearances on kind of, different radio stations and morning programs. And then keeping writing about pickleball for a lot of other places. So I can't share all the opportunities yet, but I'll definitely be doing a little bit of everything over the next couple of weeks to obviously help get word out about the book.
that's awesome. I'm sure just an opportunity. Obviously, you said that Harper Collins had actually reached out to you, but I'm sure that's an incredible experience and a dream of a lot of authors to get to work with Harper Collins. So I'm sure they're probably taking you on kind of a fun promotion, PR opportunities here in the coming few months as it launches.
Definitely. They've been such a great team, and it helps so much that they're all so excited about pickleball. And, the reason they wanted this book is because they truly had faith in the future of the sport and thought it was something that was really worth exploring in book form. So it's so great to have a team behind me who is just as excited as I am about, making the sport as big as possible.
Yeah, how many people have reached out to you and said, "Hey, your writing has really inspired me, and I've picked up a paddle or I'm playing." So I know myself, a lot of people reach out that they know that we're all kind of talking and writing about pickleball. So a lot of people reached out to you saying, "Hey, where can I play?" or saying, "Thanks for inspiring me," that they've started playing.
Yeah, you're right. I've had a good amount of people who have said, even if I've talked to them, let's say for the article about, ways that they, if they work, let's say at hotels that offer pickleball, or people who are helping with the wedding plannings around pickleball, people who might not necessarily have otherwise played themselves have said as we're talking, like, gee, I might actually try this. Like, this sounds so much fun. And so it's been really great to kind of keep spreading that word, or have people who are like, oh, wait, yeah, my uncle plays, or my grandma plays, or my sister plays, and then deciding to actually give it a go themselves.
And I'm sure that you'll be probably, as you continue to write a lot in the space, are you going to be playing in tournaments yourself? I'm sure you'll probably become a celebrity out in the wild as
I
people see
don't
your
know
book.
think my I don't think my pickleball skills are yet at that level of tournaments. I would love to get there eventually, but I definitely need to do a couple more lessons to really, really get where I want to be there. But I would love to go to the tournaments for sure. Just, as I write about in the book, and obviously, Laura, yourself, they're such incredibly fun opportunities, these whole, sometimes week-long events where people are going to
Yeah.
play, of course, and compete, but also just to meet other players and go out to dinners and listen to music and really just have a great time. So I would definitely love to check out tournaments.
Oh, yeah. And you recently had a gorgeous wedding. Congrats again, by the way. But did
Thank
you have a
you.
lot of pickleball conversations at your wedding and at the reception?
We did actually. It was actually there's a really funny moment that was caught on video of because I mentioned pickleball in my vows, just talking about how like,
Okay.
never expected, like I was talking about ways our lives had changed in some ways together. And I said, never expected I'd become, Raleigh's foremost pickleball expert. And then I think my dad mentioned it in the speech. It came up a few times just because, I think he was doing as a cute little like, don't forget her book's coming out soon kind of, dad thing. And then on video, we do have one of our friends you could just hear being like, I had no idea they liked pickleball so much. It was just like, yeah, I'm sure if you didn't know I was doing the book or what was going on, it was definitely
Yeah.
a little bit like, okay, but got the word out.
That's awesome. So where's some of your top destinations that you want to travel to? I know you said you have that article coming out, but so what are your places that you want to go to or that you've been to?
I would really love to check out, there's some of the resorts that are in Mexico that are offering, that just are beautiful resorts and you have a great vacation out of it, but that also have pickleball clinics, one-on-one lessons. There are some beautiful places also in South Carolina I would love to do. I know there's going to be a new pickleball resort opening in Charleston sometime this fall that I would love to check out, and really just all the different hotspots. I mean, like, I would love to go to Naples, to Myrtle Beach, to all these and really kind of see where these hotbeds of pickleball are and, get to see it for myself.
Yeah. And then I know what's great about it too. I mean, I'm here at the Yards in Ponte Vedra. A lot of these venues are also putting together packages and partnerships with hotels that are nearby. And so it's just amazing. I'm sure you're going to have no shortage of content to kind of write
Mhm.
about. But I know you just did that wedding feature too for New York Times. But I know a lot of media the past year was all about the growth and all happy stories, and the media tried to kind of shift stories because they need a new topic, something else that's going to get clicks and people to their website. So, is there any other topics that you can kind of share that you're pitching, or kind of what's the editor's perspective when they're like, "Hey, we need to shift the topic on pickleball," or kind of what are they saying when they want to have new trending stories on pickleball?
It's fun because I'm actually in a really great place right now where I still, because I've covered it so much, I can really kind of find all these different aspects of it and come to them and still be like, hey, like this is an aspect that hasn't really been covered. Or this one, like with the weddings one, I was like, gee, the New York Times has covered pickleball before, of course, both my story and otherwise, but like pickleball weddings, that's something new. But I think like right now people are really looking into how it's comparing to tennis in terms of both popularity as well as, tennis players switching over to pickleball or the noise or just different ways of learning. So I think that's something they're really diving into, as well as its Olympic futures, because that's something that's on everyone's mind. I think a lot of people who are, especially people who might be skeptical of pickleball, if they hear that there's a possibility of it heading to the Olympics in the not too distant future, that really gets them intrigued and taking it a little bit more seriously. So I think there's a lot there. But what I've also seen is just even very recently a rise in stories and more kind of attention being formed on the actual players themselves, and really take some of those top pros and treating them as seriously as you would treat pros in any other sport. So I think that's going to be where a lot of the focus is in the coming months and years, of really kind of helping elevate the profiles of those top players.
Yeah, and I know some of the pro players that you wrote about a lot in the book too. So I know what's kind of next steps or kind of any extensions to the book as far as following the pro players that are on tour, or maybe a second book in the works.
Whoa, you're getting ahead of my own plans
Yeah,
here,
first
but
time out
potentially
yet,
would
but
ne-
a second.
would definitely never rule anything out. I don't have anything currently in the works on that, but like I said, totally open to seeing just kind of where things go with the game. And as obviously it continues to grow and more people discover it, it's good for everyone. It gets the pro players more attention and, more respect in there and more money and all that to them, but it also helps all the amateurs, people who are just discovering and just be able to have more opportunities to play. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. And then potentially, who knows, maybe, yeah, maybe there's another book in there.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to fully read it. There's a lot of friends that are in the book. I think for anyone that just wants to understand the game or just hear a lot of inspiring stories, definitely pick up the Pickleball for All book by Rachel. And we'll definitely promote the August 30th event, and the link to purchase the book, of course, will be on pickleballonthesun.com. But where else should people go to purchase your book?
You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, pretty much wherever books are sold. You can find us, even some of those smaller bookstores as well. You can pre-order it now, and then it'll be officially available on the 30th.
All right. And then lastly, why should someone play pickleball if they have not played pickleball yet?
think the number one reason that would hopefully convince anyone is that it's just so much fun. I don't think there's a single person out there who starts playing and is like, this is boring. I'm not into it. Either you haven't heard of it, you do other sports, or you're like, oh, this is a blast. Like, even if you're just playing very casually and just learning for the first time, it's a lot of fun. It's easy on the body. You could play with your friends, you can get to know more people and really get to be a part of this bigger community. And I think it's just something that everyone should give a try.
Awesome. Well, I always appreciate it, Rachel. And I think a lot of people have been able to read your stories, which you do incredible work. I was honored to see a lot of my friends featured in your Glamour article. The women entrepreneurs and yourself are going to be included in an upcoming feature for Pickleball magazine. You're just inspiring to a lot of women in the space. There's so many women that are leading the way in business of pickleball. So I wish you the best of luck, of course, on the book launch. And I'll be sure to tell all my friends that are in Raleigh, wish I could get up there for the August
Oh,
30th event. But everybody definitely pick up Rachel's book, and you'll be seeing Rachel's name in a lot of articles and large media outlets here in the coming weeks and months.
thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate it so much. And I'm so happy that you shared your story with me and I got to feature it in the book because it is a really inspiring one. And now I'm glad more people get to know.
Well, thanks, Rachel.
Thank you so much.